Hello everyone, thanks for joining for this video. So today I'm super excited to present to you Haissam Wakeb, a big Web3 specialist and also founder and CEO at Rebel iLab. So hello Haissam, how are you feeling today?
Oh, good. I feel good. Thank you, Ivan, for having me today. Hopefully, we'll make this session very interesting and informative and insightful for the audience. So far, so good. Having a good day.
Thank you.
And I'm ready.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase, and we're here to talk about Web3, right? So I think our viewers and really we all want to know about your experience in the industry in Web3. So tell us about your journey in crypto world and Web3 in particular.
Sure. So in the way I got into Web3, it all started with the blockchain and exploring on developing product and a lot of applications on the decentralized ledger technology as an infrastructure concept or a decentralized technology model. So the way I started that was back in 2017 and 18 with a company I co-founded, a co-lead vision Australian-based company. And the focus was really developing more enterprise application solutions for corporate world. Back then, we were more focusing on industrial development, supply chain, logistics, healthcare, and how can we utilize the decentralized ledger technology or the blockchain to enable and empower and optimize the way that the corporate world or the government agencies operate. So that's how it started. And then things start to evolve more and more. And then we start to experiment. This is where I established the Web3 division within the company 2019, maybe, or 2020. And then we start to bring different other solutions or different other layers on the top of the blockchain. Like this is where we start to experiment, for example, with AR and VR. But again, it was more industrial focus. So for example, we worked on developing like our first product was a digital twin for a space agency where we train astronauts to conduct a mission on the ISS International Space Station. So we developed a complete digital twin of the ISS from an interior and exterior to make it as close as much as possible. And then we started the whole process from how the space docking into the ISS and then the astronaut getting out and conduct a few missions in a virtual world. Because believe it or not, a lot or 95% of this mission until now, they're still conducted in a manual way. And then we thought, how can we enable that? And then how can we integrate that and host some of this data on the blockchain for more security and accessibility? And then things start to evolve. We start to work with the energy sector as well, building digital twin for some of the energy solution, turbine panel. And then I felt like I want to get more into the ledger, let's say the fun, the entertainment part. I started to work on advising other companies, startups. Some of the companies got into, for example, one of the company working on develop a AAA blockchain game. And this is where I started to work more on the NFT collection. So we started with the game assets as an NFT, and then we had an amazing success. And then after that, work on designing and developing the game, and then backing that on the blockchain. So all the gamers, they can trade, they can reserve all their achievement in terms of the game assets and their investment. They can trade it, they can gain money from royalties. And then that evolved more and more, working with government agencies, working with regulators as an advisor. I started working on the tokenization for real estate, tokenization for gold trading, DeFi, and then it expanded more and more and more and more. Along the way, this is where I wanted to take that into more, because it's an emerging technology. So I thought that, okay, let's take that into more research-based academic model as well. And this is where I started my PhD in Web3 research, Web3 economic and blockchain technology in Warren Buffett University. I'm halfway there. So yeah, and the journey is still going, still continuing, still exploring, still researching. But that's how it all started.
So you basically touched every aspect of crypto Web3 for now.
Yeah, you can say that. Like, look, the one thing is even when I was younger, when I was even when I graduated 2007, and I didn't want to be specialized in, especially in the technology or anything I do. I didn't want to specialize in one area. So when I get into technology, I wanted to get into technology across all sectors, across all industries. It's maybe my curiosity is driving me to do so. But as you said, I touch a point on many areas, and I'm still exploring, and I'm still touching more and more sectors like the sports industry as well. I got into it, and many others.
That's wonderful. So speaking about Web3 in particular, can you name the benefits of Web3 technology compared to Web2, like traditional web technology?
Absolutely. Look, the shift is quite big. And the key differentiation between Web2 and Web3 technology, or the shift between both, is really significant. It can be framed through key differences. Of course, I'm going to start by saying that both are different generations. Web2 is the current generation of the internet, and Web3 is the next one because it's still emerging until now, still getting matured of the internet. And the key differentiation, of course, number one is decentralization. Web2 is centralized, meaning that it's controlled by a small number or a lot of larger companies. Web3 is decentralized, meaning it's not controlled by one entity, more by community. Number two, I would say security. Web2 is less secure than Web3 because it relies again on centralized server. Web3 is more secure because it relies on blockchain, which is the decentralized ledger technology that backing that. Which is bring us to the third benefit, I would say, that's transparency. Web2 is less transparent than Web3. It's controlled by a small number of companies, individuals, entities, but Web3 is transparent because it's an open source and anyone can inspect the code. The user control, I would say that Web2 users have like less control over their data than Web3 users. Web3 have more control of their data because pretty much they own the data. So overall, I would say that Web3 technology is more decentralized, secure, transparent, and user controlled version of the internet. They have a piece of that. It's still in the early stage though of development. It's still emerging. That's why I still call it emerging technology, but definitely it has the potential to revolutionize the way we interact with the internet. And we have seen that in many examples like the DeFi, the non-fungible token, and DAO as well.
Mm-hmm. So in your opinion, what are successful Web3 projects of today? And can you explain what made them so successful?
I mean, we have seen quite, DeFi have been quite successful in Web3. The financial system that's been built on blockchain, which is allow people to lend, to borrow, to invest money without the need of the central authority. And I think that they worked on the main gap that we have seen over ages and ages, which is the gap that exists within the current central finance system, within the banking system. And then we have seen, for example, when it comes to transaction optimization, like the peer-to-peer transaction, it takes few seconds. If I do that with someone living, I don't know, in the States or Canada, I'm based in Dubai, that can take up to 2-3 days. It can be even more. So I think we have seen quite a big success within the decentralized finance. NFT, we cannot ignore NFT and what NFT transformed the way we operate. Look at how NFT, for example, transformed the art industry, the music industry, the whole concept. Now we have something called digital assets, which is recorded on the blockchain, and we have seen many projects that create a lot of success within the area. Even when with the gaming, which is still exploring a lot of that. Within the DAO, like for the first time, we started to talk about the flat business model of the company, which is now enabled by decentralized autonomous organization, which is pretty much is run by code, it's not controlled by an entity or persons. So I think those three areas, and then of course you can have a lot of different companies, brand and names, but those are the main three areas where we have seen good success. We have seen some trial getting there, getting mature, and we're gonna see more of that, I think, in the coming years.
Yeah, maybe particular names in your mind.
Particulars name, I mean, for NFT, we have seen board
Like
have
for
done
every
amazing.
area, like DeFi, NFT, maybe like some examples that you look up to.
Look, I liked what for example the sports industry have done in the NFT. I
Yeah.
like how the NBA, how even the Premier League, how the Champions League have done an amazing work engaging the fans into the game, because there is a huge gap that we have seen since the beginning of the sports industry between the club owners and the game itself, and between the fans, who run behind them to support them and engage with them. But now through the NFT, they can really engage with that. So that's with NFT. We have seen many artists where they managed to fund their music through NFTs, through their fans, through their supporter, and that create a lot of success. Not only that, they can contribute, but they still can make money from the royalty. Decentralized finance, I mean, we have seen between the DEX or the DEX, particularly the DEX, because it's a decentralized, put on the blockchain. Uniswap, SushiSwap, we have seen many that are doing MetaMask that have done an amazing job, and like there are plenty out there.
Perfect. So the next question is, don't you think that Web3 is way too complex for average user? It's still like very complex for them to comprehend, especially for newbies.
That's true. Look, I mean, there are challenges for sure. There are challenges from the adaptability perspective, but we need to categorize that between different generations. So we have to look into the generation first. But so if you look into Gen Z or millennials, which is my generation, or the younger one, I think because especially Gen Z and the coming EV generation Alpha, because they are digital, that native generation, it's easier for them to interact with Web3, connecting wallets, and dealing with crypto, trading NFTs. I mean, when I work with Gen Z, man, I go crazy. Pretty much anyone within this generation, like my niece, my nephews, that's, they can tell me that stuff. They can teach me stuff from a user perspective, of course. So that's within this part. But we have challenges with the older generation. Yes, we do. We have challenges with the enterprise and the corporate to adopt Web3. Absolutely. We have challenges with the government to adopt. Absolutely. Why? Because I would call it a culture shock for them. Not from only the technical perspective. We already have seen a lot of companies working on simplifying the transition between both, or simplifying the UI UX for the user to interact with Web3. So everything is happening from the back end, but just in the front end, you have like the few functionality where you can easily be able to trade and make money without knowing what's happening in the back end. But the adoption at the wider scale, I think that the biggest challenge we have here is the culture. That we have seen it more at the older generation, at the corporate level, at the government level.
So there is a gap between generations, and like a huge cultural impact on, so culture plays a huge role in Web3, in your opinion.
Correct, and that's really what I see, like almost on a daily basis. Because I work more with like from a B2B, B2C. From a B2C, it's getting easier. From a B2B, no, it's still not there. It's still harder. It requires some work, it requires some education, it requires some awareness, and it requires the enabler to work on more simplifying that for them.
Maybe you can provide some, examples of like cultural challenges in terms of Web3.
Some examples. The whole idea when you go to any of the stakeholders in the corporate world, or even for any government that they wanna utilize any of the Web3 from an NFT perspective, or even from an infrastructure like the blockchain, or when you tell them we're gonna move from centralized to decentralized, they go crazy. What do you mean decentralized? Yeah. What do you mean I don't have the data? What do you mean I don't own the data? I know that my data is on the server, on the cloud somewhere. I can access, and then they have all of these questions and panic because what they have been doing for the last maybe 25 years in their career is that, right? And then Web 1 and Web 2 has been there for over 3 decades. And then you come and tell them, hey, look at the blockchain, what can bring in terms of value, in terms of ownership, trustworthiness, security, decentralization. And then what do you mean by that? So when you start to simplify and you start to apply a small use case for the way they operate and you create success, this is where you can break the ice and then you can get their attention. But in the beginning, you can see a little bit of panic. Just the whole world of decentralization, it can get them like, I don't know, man.
Just the challenge to just let it go, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's still gonna take some time. We're getting there. We're getting there, though.
Yeah, baby steps. So have you personally encountered with such legal or regulatory challenges when you're working on Web3 projects?
Look, absolutely. Regulatory, that's another key player in the whole Web3 ecosystem, because we need to look at Web3 not from a technology perspective enabled by blockchain, but we have to look at it. It is a whole ecosystem. There are challenges, and the challenges I see that, which is something it can be fixed easily when the regulators start to listen to the technical expertise in the industry, when the regulator start to give a chance to the startups or the companies who want to start to adopt Web3 into their business model. Here is the problem, the challenge I have seen personally, I'm talking about me personally, that you have most of the decision maker within the regulatory space. The background is pure either finance, compliance, legal. The way what I propose to fix this issue is you need to incorporate some of the technical expertise literally from an engineers of the blockchains, from even a financial technical, from a DeFi perspective, to help you shape the regulation so they can make things more agile and easier for the potential mass adoption, because we all now agree that we cannot go to mass adoption without the regulators are quite mature. So in summary, the challenge that I have seen so far with regulators is the lack of education part, from a technical perspective. They take it fully driven from a compliance perspective. Maybe I can understand, because what we have seen 2022 from some of the projects that didn't do well, a lot of people lost some money. Maybe that can get them even more protected, but that happened with any new ecosystem that's getting developed day by day or emerged day by day.
Yeah, that's right. Completely agree with you. So my next question is like personal question. So have you personally worked on Web3 project that failed, and what did you learn from that experience, if so?
Oh, that's a very, very good question. I did. It happened with me a few times. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was doing more like an I was doing like an advisor role, but they brought me after things was already collapsing. Mm-hmm. So I can tell you a couple of use cases. One use case, in a summary, it was the lack of maturity of the founders. Well, let's be honest here. Most of the founders of Web3 are in a very young age bracket. I can see a lot of them coming from 23, 24, between 30, right? Nothing wrong with that. I love to work with this. I love to support them, but they're too excited. They're lacking. When you have an idea and you package this idea with your team internally, it's different when you want to take this idea to a business level. And then they deal with a lot of challenges they never dealt with, they never consider it. I found that they lack the experience of managing budget. They don't know what is budget. So they start to spending money left and right and center without putting the money in the right place from a product development perspective to optimize it, or resource, or the right resource, and so on. I saw a lot of them, they put a lot of money on PR and marketing instead of actually building the right technology and the use case to attract the users. And then that which is actually bring more value for their companies. So those are really the common challenges I have seen. And of course, like the specific one, there are the generic one, which is the FOMO. Everyone is trying to let's come up with something. Let's come up with something. Now before we lose the opportunity. But those, I don't want to talk about them. That's different. But I'm talking about the other who managed to create a good idea, who managed to secure an initial fund, and then they get stuck, and then they lose the money after 1 year, and then everything collapsed. I've seen it. I cannot mention the company's name because I have signed NDA with them. I have to be respectful to what been agreed. But that I have seen it, and no, it happened. It happened, and especially 2022, it was full of those projects.
Yeah, that's completely right, because I really think that your response is really vivid and shows that, well, I personally encountered with such, problems, especially with, CEOs of Web3 world, because especially whenever they're like young and ambitious, but lack of some, expertise sometimes, maybe some experience, just that's really a problem in Web3 world. I totally agree with you.
I agree. And I mean, it has to be some methodological way for them before they get into Web3 or adopt any Web3 technology. And that, in a summary, on a nutshell, do your research, just research more and more. Take your time to research the technology, to research the industry, the competitors. Look at something, research something, a field that Web2 failed to fix, and then come up with your own idea in Web3. Start small. Find the right team and the right partners and the right co-founders, because really, I'm sorry to say it, but I have seen many CEOs or founder acting / CEO that are not really qualified to manage the company from a day-to-day operations. Be patient, increase security, because we have seen what happened, and be careful with the cost. When you raise money, let's say you raise $1 million, make sure, try as much as you can, work on your cost optimization and your use cost to get this million to cover you for, let's say, 2 years. Try even more till you secure another a Series A or Series B, for example, and so on. So there are things that there are a lot of lesson learned definitely out there, which is, I'm sure everybody is doing that, because we have seen so many failure, and I can see now this year especially, I can see more maturity.
Yeah, that's really a risk, I think, here in this field, but maybe because the industry is like very young, and maybe in future the situation will fix itself. But
correct.
My next question is, speaking of the risks, what are other risks in the field of Web3 ecosystem that you see in the coming years?
The risks, number one, I mean, security and security and security. We need more R&D in the security of Web3.
Yeah.
Number two, we need interoperability between blockchains. That's a problem that I personally, I have an initiative here that whoever gonna hear this, I would love the blockchain enabler company, let's say Polkadot, Avalanche, Ethereum, all of the guys out there, Binance, to stick together and work on agreed interoperability protocol. Okay, because most of the hacks that we have seen it happening between the conversion between blockchain and other, a lot of them. So those some of the risks that we need to tackle. We need to invest some money on it to increase security, and of course, the regulation risk. With this technology, it's not yet regulated in many countries. This could make it difficult for business to adopt Web3 technology, even to the level that not only from a startup perspective, but even from a corporate. I met some of my clients, I met them like a corporate, like a larger corporation, like I would say, or even government, that they want to do, like airline, for example, and they say, hey man, we cannot get into it because we don't have the regulation yet solid in my country, so I have to wait. Those are maybe some of the risks that we need to be careful. Regulation, security, complexity, interoperability.
And despite that, what excites you the most about the future of Web3 technology?
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited about the potential of Web3 technology, how it will transform, how it will revolutionize the way we interact with the internet in general. I want to see more how the decentralization component will impact the way we operate. Meaning, of course, we all know, we all have seen it's not really good that our data is controlled by one entity. This make it more resistant to censorship, manipulation. I want to see how decentralization will fix all of this censorship and centralization. Security, we have seen people complain about the hacks that happen in Web3. Man, you gotta look at the last 20, 25 years of the hacks that happening in Web2.
Yeah.
So, and I hope that Web3 technology is more secure than traditional web technology based. Using blockchain is the hope to have like a secure and tamper-proof way of storing data. Transparency, I'm really excited that we finally have that, or we have the technology that can enable or empower that. We have the hope now. We want to see that more and more in more applications, in more use cases, have the technology, because it is more transparent than Web2 or traditional technology in general, because it's an open source as well. Anyone can intersect the code and can see how it works and what's happening.
Yeah,
I think I'm also excited about user control, how user can control their data, as I mentioned before. And the last but not least, the innovation, because I can see since Web3 started getting more and more adopted by the startups, the new generation, I could see new innovation appear on a daily basis for product development, and we can expect more and more application coming within the Web3 space that can create more innovative use cases and applications.
One of the last questions, what advice can you give to companies looking to adopt Web3 technology?
The first and the most, do your research. Before you adopt the Web3 technology, it's important to do your research and understand the technology and how it works from end to end. This includes understanding the benefit of the Web3 technology, the risk associated with the Web3 technology, and the different type of application in Web3. The research, they don't do that. You need to do that. Start small. It's not a bad idea to start with something small, and then you can scale gradually. Good team, good partner, be patient. Security, cost optimization. Don't be excited when you get the first 2-3 million fund and then you go and you just blow it up on PR and marketing. Invest on tech. Improve the efficiency. Work with regulators so you are legit in your business.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that. So the last question of today's interview, should we buy BTC right now?
Look, I wouldn't. I'm not in a position to give any financial advice or investment advice. But I'll tell you about myself. The more money I have, the more I'm going to buy BTC. That's me.
Okay. Anyways.
So let's keep it that way.
That's so nice. So let's wrap this up. Thank you, Haissam, for the talk. It was really a pleasure talking with you. Liked your answers very much. So today's interview, I think, is concluded. Haissam Wakeb, a Web3 specialist, founder and CEO of Rebel iLab, was with you. Thanks, anyways, for joining in, and see you soon. Have a nice one.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good one.